Hello everyone, it's Miss Angela from the Fort Worth Public Library. Welcome back to another Fort Worth Nature Center Discovery Club story time. Today we are talking about woodpeckers. Now if you know anything about woodpeckers, you know that they use their beak to make holes in trees. For our song today, I'm going to teach you the American Sign Language sign for tree. So you're going to put one hand up and put the other hand underneath it like this so that you're touching your elbow. And then you're going to wave your hand. Doesn't it look like a tree? Now, this isn't quite the sign, but I'm going to ask you to pull that bottom hand out and turn it into a woodpecker. Can you tap your tree? Tap, tap, tap. Our song is to the tune of Here We Go Round the Mulberry Bush, if you've ever heard that one. And the first thing we're going to say is, this is the way we drill for food, and we'll say so early in the morning. You ready? This is the way we drill for food, drill for food, drill for food. This is the way we drill for food so early in the morning. Now we're going to flap our wings. This is the way we flap our wings, flap our wings, flap our wings. This is the way we flap our wings so early in the morning. For our next verse, we're going to fly away and then we're going to come back to our nest. So we're going to fly away with just one hand. This is the way we fly away, fly away, fly away. This is the way we fly away so early in the morning. Now we're going to come back to the nest and sit on it. This is the way we sit on our nest. This is the way we sit on our nest, sit on our nest, sit on our nest. This is the way we sit on our nest so early in the morning. Our second time around, I want you to sing it with me and do the motions like we talked about. So drill for food, flap our wings, fly away, and sit on our nests. And I'm going to do them with my puppets. Ready? Okay. This is the way we drill for food, drill for food, drill for food. This is the way we drill for food so early in the morning. This is the way we flap our wings, flap our wings, flap our wings. This is the way we flap our wings so early in the morning. This is the way we fly away, fly away, fly away. This is the way we fly away so early in the morning. This is the way we sit on our nest, sit on our nest, sit on our nest. This is the way we sit on our nest so early in the morning. Isn't this a cool puppet? There's woodpecker babies in this nest. Can you count them with me? We have 1, 2, 3. 3 woodpecker babies. Great singing, everyone. Our story for today is a book called Woodpecker Wham, and it's by April Pulley Sayre with illustrations by Steve Jenkins. What do you see on the cover of our book here? I see a woodpecker, a tree, some leaves, the sky, some clouds. And look at the title, the letters in the title, they have holes like a woodpecker would make. Woodpecker Wham. Swoop and land, hitch and hop, shred a tree stump, chop, chop, chop. Instant message, tap, 1, 2, bonk, bonk, bonk. Now back to you. Early insects click and crawl, flick and flake to find them all. Spring sap rises, who will drill? Sapsucker, sticky bill. You see those holes? There's sap coming out of those holes, and the sap is getting on the woodpecker's beak. Fan those feathers, shower clean. Have you ever taken a shower in the rain? Sunbathe dry, then oil and preen. Raise that crest, bob and bow, flash those wings, it's time to wow. Start a home, bill to bark, dig it, deep and dark. Wedge it, sledge it, wham by wham, clear those chips, slam, slam, slam. Lots of good rhyming words in this book. Hawks a-hunting, stop, drop, hide, quiet, on the other side. Do you see the hawk? There it is. Cherries, berries, pluck and feed, leave a dropping full of seed. I like to eat cherries too, just like a woodpecker. Tap, tap, tap. Where? Look and see. Crick, crick, crack. 6 chicks break free. Hungry mouths and begging calls. Hunt, hop, pick, quick, feed them all. Do you see what this woodpecker has found for the babies? It's a caterpillar. Fledglings fly. Oops, fledglings flop. Chase and feed. When will it stop? What did this woodpecker find to feed the baby? A grasshopper. Fluffy fledglings now are grown, wicka wicka on their own. Fall is falling, acorns plunk, pry seeds, pull seeds, fill a trunk. This woodpecker is putting the seeds inside the hole in the tree. Leave that tree hole, start one new. Who will move in after you? Do you have a guess who might move into the hole after the woodpecker has left? Bill to bark, build, slam, 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 chip and chop, Woodpecker Wham. The end. Great listening, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. It's time to pass it over to Mr. Michael over at the Nature Center. We'll see you next week.
Good morning, everyone. This is Michael Perez at the Fort Worth Nature Center and Refuge. I want to welcome you to this week's edition of Discovery Club. Miss Angela started us off well again with a great story, and we appreciate story time, and we appreciate that so much. And I think it just sets the stage for all the things that we're going to be learning today. And today's topic are woodpeckers. Now, woodpeckers are amazing birds, and birds in general are my favorite. I just love birds. I love watching birds, studying birds, listening to birds. I think they're just so fascinating, and woodpeckers are no exception to that. In fact, they're probably one of the my favorite groups of birds because of all the cool things that they do and all the cool adaptations. Now, as I'm walking around the Nature Center, I may hear a woodpecker, I may see a woodpecker, and whenever they're drilling on a tree or something like that, I'm always wondering, well, how in the world can they do that? Oh my, it seems like that would hurt. But they have a lot of special adaptations that we're going to talk about a little bit later that allows them to do that. Now, before we get too far, let's talk about what we're going to be talking about today. So, as always, we're going to talk about what a woodpecker is and what kind of animal it is. And then after we're done with that, we're going to talk a little bit about adaptations. We haven't really talked too much about adaptations. Now, with each of our topics that we cover, we try to talk about how that animal is different and how it is important, and what parts of the body, behaviors, or physical traits that allows it to survive and thrive in its habitat. And that's what we're going to be doing today when we talk about woodpeckers. So we're going to talk all about different adaptations. And then I want to show you maybe a video or an image of evidence of woodpeckers, because sometimes as you're looking around, you're not quite, you may not see them. However, you may hear them, but you also may see signs of them, and we're going to focus on the signs of them a little bit later. And then after that, I have a video I want to show you, or rather a slideshow with some images of some of the most common woodpeckers we have in our area. So that's kind of what we're going to have to do today. So let's go ahead and get started. As always, can't even talk this today. We're going to talk about what the animal is. So our animal for today are woodpeckers. Now, woodpeckers are birds, okay? And we've talked about that with mockingbirds. I think we talked about mockingbirds and how and owls, how they fit the group or are grouped in the group of birds because they're covered with these things right here. These are feathers, and feathers are so important for the life of a bird. So let's just really, for those of you who have tuned in from week in, week out, or may know about birds, but let's refresh our memories. And for those of you who may not know, why these feathers are so important. So this feather here is important because it helps, well, feathers in general help birds fly. They're so light. I mean, if I was to drop it, it's just so light. So in order to fly, you have to be as light as possible. So the feathers themselves are very light. So it allows them for flight. Also, these feathers are important because they can keep them nice and warm. You can see right here at the base, you have these little soft downy-like feathers. When they're first born, they have the down feathers that keep them warm. And as they get older, they still have feathers closer to their body to keep them nice and warm. So keep them warm. They have the ability to keep them dry. Okay, so water, like say waterfowl, the water can just bead down their backs because of their feathers being waterproof. So these feathers are very, very important for the life of a bird, and woodpeckers are birds. As we said before, they can get all messed up. You know, you can see how a feather can get all messed up like that. But on each one of these little projections that stick out, it's called a barb. And then on those barbs, there are a bunch of little hooks called barbules. And what they do is they close together, they loop together, or they attach together, and they're back to normal again. Much like if you have, many of you who are watching may have Velcro shoes. The shoes that you strap them on, and the Velcro just attaches and allows it to stay together and be stable. Same thing with this. Okay, so woodpeckers are birds. Now, not only do they have feathers, there are other traits that birds have. When you ask the question, what makes a bird a bird? A lot of people will say, well, they fly. And you're right. Birds fly. Not all birds fly, but a great majority of them will fly. They have wings. They have feet. And what's really cool about bird feet is you can look at some birds' feet and you can tell what kind of what area they live in, or what kind of habitat they live in. For example, a duck will have the skin between its toes, webbed feet, so it can paddle through it. And then you have birds of prey like hawks, eagles, and falcons who have these long talons in order to grasp onto their prey. So they do have feet that are specialized based on the type of food they're going to like to eat or the habitat they're going to be in. They also have beaks and bills. That's always a common answer as well. And just like their feet, their beaks and their bills tell them or indicate what kind of food they eat. Like, again, focusing on the bird of prey, like a hawk, eagle, or falcon, they have like a hook beak to tear their food up in small pieces because birds don't have teeth. Okay, they don't have teeth, so they have to use their beak and a hook beak to cut their food up in small pieces. And then you have like birds like hummingbirds who have the long bill. They can stick that long bill in a very back part of a flower, and they can get the nectar that they need in order to survive. So their bills are designed for what they eat, and their feet are designed for what they eat and also kind of where they live and how they can get that food. So those are some of the characteristics of birds. And these are things that you can observe in your backyard. I encourage you to do that. I encourage you to go to your backyard, look out a window, and see what kind of birds are in your area. And watch their behaviors, okay? Now, speaking of behaviors, let's kind of transition and talk about behaviors in the form of adaptations. Now, adaptation is a physical trait or behavior that allows an animal to survive in its environment. So, what I have here, I have some tools, if you will, and we're going to talk about some of the adaptations that woodpeckers have. So, I have some things here I want to show you, so we can talk about those really cool adaptations. Now, we said it earlier, one of the more important adaptations is their beak. Okay, so woodpeckers, and you're gonna see some pictures of them a little bit later, but they have like a long beak, and it's chiseled. It's kind of like straight at the very end, and that's very important because they like to drill in a tree. So I have here a chisel. Okay, so their beak actually acts as a chisel. Chisel here, if you use this tool, you get you can just kind of hit it at the end, and it'll just knock up, cut wood a little bit or whatever you're molding or you're working with. Well, same thing with a woodpecker. They can get on a tree, and they, with their beak, with their chisel-like beak, they're tick, 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 you're hitting it, and they're flaking off that bark. And what are they looking for? Well, they're looking for insects and bugs and things to eat. So they use that chisel-like beak and their beak as a tool in order to get their food. So their beak is adapted to cutting or getting underneath bark in order to get insects. So that's one adaptation. Let's see, what else I have? Oh, this is a really cool adaptation. Now, their tongue is so cool, guys. It is so cool. I have here some little, I don't even know what it's called, but you know what it is. You use it at the party, you know, Happy New Year or Happy Birthday, whatever. Well, woodpeckers' tongues are really long. But if you ever see a woodpecker, their head is, you know, teeny tiny. It's not, well, not teeny tiny, but small. Where does that tongue go? I'm glad you asked. So on the skull, the head of a woodpecker, they have a specialized bone, you know, your bones that you feel, bone that wraps around their head, and it actually houses or holds the tongue. And it's all wrapped up like this, okay? Not as dramatic as this, but it may be wrapped around like, say, like that, okay? It's curved. And what happens is, whenever the woodpecker finds food or finds something that it's going for, it releases that tongue. The tongue comes out of that bone. It's called a hyoid bone. So you can impress all your friends. You can say, ooh, I even know what the bone is. It's called a like, hi, and an oid. Okay, hyoid bone. And what happens is whenever they're first they use that bill, they're and drilling a hole in the tree. They have a hole now, and there's the insect, the bug's in there, and they're like, ooh, how do I get to it? Now they don't make that noise like a party, like that you do at a party, but that tongue unrolls and comes out of the hyoid bone, and comes. And not only does this bone, this tongue reach so far, but the tip, it's really spiky, okay? So not only is it long enough to go in there and get whatever it needs to get, but it's pointy, and then they can get the insect that may be hiding in that little hole. So their tongue is designed and adapted to the lifestyle they have. Now, while they're chiseling, while they're drilling, you would think their brain is going to go all over the place. That's not the case. Their brain fits right in their skull. Think about something, a toy you have or something at home that fits snug. I mean, it's hard to get out. It's hard to put in. It sits in there snug. Well, that's the same thing with the brain. The brain is so snug in there. And in addition to it being snug, they also have this spongy, soft material that they wrap around their brain. Okay. Do I look silly? I should do a poll. Do I look silly? I think I do look silly, but that's okay. Once again, I'm silly for you guys. All right. So their brain is wrapped. They have this spongy material, and this is what this is. This bubble wrap is important. Like whenever your parents are shipping something to someone that they don't want it to break, they wrap it in this bubble wrap, and then, or you may receive a package from like your uncle, your aunts, or your cousins or someone, and your gift is wrapped in this bubble wrap, and then you get it and you pop it, and you love doing it, right? My kids do too. So you get this bubble wrap, this spongy material wrapped around your brain, and as you're going, your brain doesn't go anywhere, and it doesn't get any concussions or gets hurt, because number one, his brain fits right snug into his skull because of this spongy material that's wrapped around it. Okay, I can see some of you kids at home running over and say, "Mom, Dad, where's the bubble wrap so I can put my bubble wrap on my head like Mr. Michael and look so cool." I can see it. I can see y'all doing it. Go ahead. Don't be shy. Go ahead and do it. All right. So the spongy material helps their brain stay intact. So a chisel like beat the drum, the spongy material to keep its brain from moving around, and then the long tongue. But one of the other cool things about them is their feet. Their feet are designed in such a way to grab onto a tree and climb up a tree. So birds usually have 3 toes in the front and 1 in the back. They have 4 toes, 3 in the front, 1 in the back. But woodpeckers have the ability to move one so that you have 2 up front and 2 in the back. And you wonder, well, how's that important? Well, it gives them a better grip. Okay, it kind of looks like this little hair clip. There's a two digits or toes up front and 2 in the back, and they clamp onto the tree. So these feet with the 2 feet, 2 toes in the back and 2 in the front, that's called, that toe arrangement is called zygodactyl. Ooh, another fun word. I'm teaching you hyoid bone, zygodactyl, which means 2 toes in the front and 2 toes in the back. And they grip onto that tree, and they can climb the tree. And they climb the tree, they use their chest, they put their chest up against it. You know how you get your balance, you hold up against something, use your hands? Well, they put their feet, their chest up there, get their feet, and they climb up. And while they're climbing, their tail, actually another adaptation, is very spiky, kind of spiky, pointy. And it sticks to the trunk, climbs its legs up, and then uses its chest and goes up and gets up higher, and then climbs up some more with those zygodactyl toes. So as you can see, woodpeckers have a lot of cool adaptations that allow them to survive. Now, as always, birds are important, and they tell us a lot about our habitats with their mere presence. So if you have woodpeckers around calling, that's a good thing, because it tells you that there's plenty of food for them. And the woodpeckers around here, they like to hide in the trees or hang out in the trees. They're looking for trees that may be older, easier to drill into, easy to chisel into. And you can find them all around here. And that's a good indication of a healthy habitat when you have birds around, and a lot of other animals. So they're part of that one piece of that puzzle of a healthy habitat. Imagine a puzzle, a healthy habitat. Each little piece is a different species, and it's diverse. All those puzzle pieces that you put together, some of them, there's some similarities on them, but a lot of them, they're different. Yeah, a lot of different pieces, a lot of different colors. And same thing with woodpeckers. They're one part of the piece of a healthy habitat puzzle, and it's important to have them, and that's what they indicate for us. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to transition, and I'm going to show you a slideshow of some woodpeckers that we have in our area. And then I'm going to show you a picture also of some holes that a woodpecker has into the tree. All right, so enjoy these photos. As I said, you can look at trees and find evidence of woodpeckers. If you look at this tree here, you see all these different holes. And all these holes were put in by woodpeckers, going drumming and drilling in the tree. And the purpose behind all that is to get food. Now you can look at these holes. There's some more holes on this tree here. And you see something that's very interesting. If you notice, you see these straight lines. When you see those holes in a tree from a woodpecker with straight lines, it's an indicator of a specific species called the yellow-bellied sapsucker. And you saw a picture of that on the slideshow. So the yellow-bellied sapsucker does just that. It tries to find sap. And what they do is they drill in the tree looking for sap. If you look closely on this tree, you can see sap. There it is, that sticky substance. There's some there. There's some right there. So the sap oozes from the holes, and then the sapsucker just laps it all up and consumes it. If the sapsucker is lucky, an insect might get stuck on it, and it has a nice little protein shake. So pay attention to the trees around you. Look for these little holes, and if you see holes that come in and form these straight lines here, then it's an indication that it is a yellow-bellied sapsucker. All right, keep your eyes peeled, guys. All right, guys, that was great. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson on woodpeckers. Once again, one of my favorite groups of animals because of all those cool adaptations. We learned that woodpeckers are birds. They're covered in feathers. Those feathers help them to fly, stay dry. Also, they keep them warm. Also, it allows them just to tell each other apart. We didn't talk about that. Each bird has different colorations. It tells you when a male or a female and what species it is. So that's important too. We talked about adaptations. You know, how the beak is like a chisel. Where's my chisel? It's like a chisel. You know. We talked about the brain just fits in its skull really tight and compact because of this spongy material that keeps his head, his brain from moving around and getting hurt. We talked about that really long tongue. Once they get that hole, there you go. That sounds better. That long tongue, that spiky tongue at the very end to grab its insects and things it's trying to eat. And then we talked about his toe arrangement, how they're zygodactyl, like this hair clip here. All right, 2 toes in the front and 2 toes in the back. So we talked about all the adaptations. You got to see some pictures of some woodpeckers that we have in our area. So I encourage you to go outside, look in the trees, listen for the knocking on the tree, and find woodpeckers for yourself. So I hope you had a great time. We encourage you to come back next week, same time, same place. We're going to be talking about another element of nature. We're going to have Miss Angela again sharing her wonderful story time with us. And we're going to learn, and we're going to have fun, and we're going to be silly, right? Got to be silly. All right, guys, so thank you very much again. I hope we see you back next week. And until then, have a great one, guys. Bye-bye.